down to some business, man. How many people are glad that she is with us today? Let me hear you one more time, huh? Listen, Miss Kay, are you excited to be here?
I'm thrilled. I love it.
You know what's crazy is you are everywhere. Now, we were talking right there in the back just how busy y'all have been. You are on every television program. You're in every store, everywhere, right?
Right.
Has it been tiring?
Yeah, I walk in just a little old country convenience store out there where I live, which is out in the wilderness. And I walked in one day and there was Phil just looking back at me, right there hanging on a shelf. Like, I said, "You got us here?" And they said, "Well, yeah, everybody has you."
That's true. Everybody does. Matter of fact, celebrities are even taking on this whole beard thing. Here's one picture. I think it's Kathy Lee, maybe. And I don't know if you watch TV at all, but look at there right here. Mm-hmm. All of these celebrities putting it on, but probably the most, I guess, influential things happened recently. We have a little video clip from it because your boy showed up unexpected somewhere, and it got a little pub. Watch this video.
You're a country girl, I know you hunted, I know you hunted, I know you hunted. You're a country girl, I feel fantastic. We ain't about to get blasted. These ducks are plastic. Duck lines, I know you want it, I know you want it, I know you want it. You're a country girl, I feel fantastic. We about to get nasty. Talking Duck Dynasty. Duck
Yeah, give it up for him right there, huh? How cool is that? CMA's television, I mean, the most watched show on television.
Can you believe this boys were dancing like that? Was that funny or what?
Obviously, they need some lessons, though, don't they, right? They need some lessons.
I don't know. I think they've got it all together, so that's all that matters. They're not liking self-confidence, which I don't know where they got all that.
Well, speaking of all the confidence and all these products, I pulled a few just to have a little fun with today. When I told you that you're everywhere, well, we're going to do some giveaways today. Like, for example, did you know you were on Band-Aids?
You know, I can't find those, but everybody tells me about those.
Anybody want some Band-Aids this morning, huh? Yeah, how about that right there? All right, let's see what else you got. Well, you know, obviously, Happy, 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 the book, right? You're on the book right there. That's pretty cool, huh? Anybody got the book out there? Okay.
That's a great book.
It is a good book.
Even if he wasn't my husband, that's a good book.
All right, hold on. Let's see what else. Now, this one you may not be quite so proud of, but this one right here, Uncle Si, how about that right there, huh?
You know what? The number one question we get is he really as crazy as he is? And Alan always says the same thing, and I say it now too. No, he's crazier than he is on TV.
All right, we're going to give a bunch of fun stuff away. And coming out right now, huh? How about the CD, huh? They got the whole family singing Christmas carols.
I just told about this. I was in Nashville, and I had to do an event all morning and then that night, and the night one was double the people that they said would be there. They said they weren't lying, but, you know, they didn't tell me the truth, so I don't know what that is. But what got me through that night was they played that CD. And the only thing I asked them, I said, turn it up. Because the more I sit there, my back was killing me, I was working. But that music, it got me through the night.
It is good, and you can get it at Walmart as well, but there's a few given away out there. But you may want this instead, though. How about the Uncle Si Chia? Right? Anybody want this morning? All right, here's an Uncle Si. Look, I'm just giving a lot of stuff away. This is all your great products here, but let me go ahead. Let's see did you ever think your husband, look at this right here. Did you ever think your husband would be on a rug? Look at this right here.
I have one of those.
You have this rug?
Well, I almost just like it.
Yeah, look at that right there. Anybody want this rug, huh? Look, we'll throw that away out there. Hold on. But this is probably one that really concerned me right here is who wants to snuggle with Phil? You know what I'm saying? Other than you, right, Miss Phil?
Right. Yeah, now the one I have has all their faces on. I snuggle with all of them, but mostly Bobo and JJ like it.
Hold on, I gave Phil a hug right there. All right, they're giving away that. Oh, this is a little unusual. Oh, this is real unusual. How about this right here, the Miss K bobblehead? Did you know you had a bobblehead out there?
Yeah, I think she's a little old, but looking, but...
Anybody want a Miss K bobblehead? Look, if you want some stuff, you got to let me hear you this morning. I'm trying to bless you. You got it. All right, good. All right, hey, here's another one. Let's see, how about this right here? Now, this one's unusual. I don't even think you knew about this one right here. Have you seen this right here?
No.
We just made this up, Miss Kay. That ain't for you.
I started
But who
saying,
wants a toilet seat, though, right, huh?
I thought they might have been on the inside cover.
Well, we were looking for them. But they weren't there. Target price. How awesome is that, dude? Hey, Sean, thanks for making that for us. How fun is that? But let me go ahead. This is probably the most popular one that most people don't know about right here. If you have your baby, have you seen this right here?
No.
Your baby can now have a beard. How awesome is that? And there's an Uncle Si version, too, just in case.
That
Hey, Miss
is
Kay,
funny.
we got issues. We didn't make that. We just made all that up. All right, give her a round of applause for all those great products, right? Thanks for putting up with having a little bit of fun today. Now, here is the thing. This success really has been amazing. I mean, how have you handled it? Has it been difficult? Has it been easy? How'd you get through all of that? How do you get through all of it?
Well, I still don't believe it. I tell this story everywhere I go. This is a true story. I was somewhere and I had on my hoodie and my sunshades, which maybe I was trying to hide. I don't know. I wasn't even thinking about it that day, but there was a girl that was right there, and she said, "Oh, the celebrities will be here. I can hardly wait. I can hardly wait." I was turned this way, and I was like, "What celebrities are coming?" And when I said that, she screamed, "Just put your ear out." And she said, "You're one of them. You're one of them." And I was like, see, I don't see myself like that.
Right.
So I was waiting to see Brad Pitt or something. I didn't know that was
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you, we have watched. If you watch the show, let her hear you today, huh? And we're proud of you. We're proud of you. We're honored to call you Louisianians. That's exactly right. And just the way you do your business, the way you handle your life, it really is inspirational. And the way you've handled your success, you are very real. And I want you to know, some people ask, is backstage, what's she like? Just like she is right here, y'all. Very, very
Well, you know
real.
what? Everywhere I go on the road, I ask people, why do you like us? Why are you screaming when we come out? Why? I just want to know. So I've interviewed half of America wherever I've been myself. And, you know, they always say three things. They say, I think you're real. Number two is we can relate to you because you're working people just like we are. And I mean, we started out poor, I mean, all the different things. And number three, they always say, we feel like you're sincere, we can trust you. So I think in today's America, it's not very common.
No, it isn't. It's very true. Well, speaking of success, you and Phil have been married for how many years now?
Well, almost 50 years.
Almost
We've been,
50
yeah.
years. It's not just about the celebrity stuff, it's also about a successful marriage. And
That's why I want you to ask me about my bracelet.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me about that bracelet, Miss Kay.
It was given to me by one of my fans, and can you read what it says?
If I'm old, I can. One man, one wife for one life. Hey,
That's
there you
one
go.
of my fans.
That's awesome. Well, that's the thing is your success, it hasn't always been successful, but we're going to go through and look at some old pictures first, though. Let me throw up some pictures. Here is your honey right here. This is your man right there, huh?
Yeah, he had a fever blister, but yeah. He was
How cool is that, huh? All right, then I think we have another picture. This is actually college, Louisiana Tech, huh? Isn't that right?
I think that.
I think-
I don't know. That looks like a high school graduation, but maybe it is at Tech.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what they told me. You know
Yeah.
how it is. All right,
Yeah.
here's the other one. I think we have another picture there of actually, how about that? There's your hubby with Terry Bradshaw. Pretty cool, huh? He actually started and played football before Terry. And really
Yeah, Terry was his understudy. Most people don't know that. And I'll tell you a story nobody else knows. Terry, and it was understandable, but he had to have the plays, you know, on a little wristband.
Right.
And Phil didn't, and so Terry said, I want you to wear one too, Phil. And Phil was like, no, I don't need it, Terry. I'm not wearing it. And then the coach told Phil, you have to wear the wristband because Terry feels bad. And Phil said, look, I learned this stuff. It's in my head. He's learning it. He's got to have it. I'm not going to do it just to make him feel better. Sorry. That's just not the way I roll.
That's awesome. All right, here's another couple of pictures. Here's a picture of y'all actually dating, I believe. Oh, no, it's the beauty queen picture. Let's go beauty
that's
queen.
fantastic.
Let's look at Miss Kay. How about that, Miss Kay, huh? Wow.
I was 14 years old when that was.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. And then here's y'all's dating picture. Look at that right there.
Yeah, there we are.
How sweet is that?
What
huh?
what a cool car. He had an old Ford Falcon. Yes, he did.
And then
That was the family car.
That was a family car. And then again, the latest picture obviously is right there when you renewed your vows on the TV show. Pretty special moment.
Right
Now-
out in my front yard.
That's in your front yard.
Yeah, it just goes out there to the water. That's it.
Wow. Well, I want to show another little clip just because what you said in the show was very, very powerful. It impacted a lot of people's lives. But I want to pull another little clip up, and then we'll watch it and we'll talk about it. Let's roll the clip.
Well, I don't even know where to start. The first thing I'd say is, from the time I was 14 years old, I loved you. And we've been through some good times and some hard times. I loved you when we were poor and you were not so nice. Now you're really nice and kind. And all I can say about that is, I'm not going anywhere.
That's good to know.
I will love you forever.
Let's see, Miss Kay, we've been running together since we were teenagers. The old blue Chevrolet, side in the back. You have cooked me many a good meal. From your loins came 4 healthy, godly men. You are my best friend, and I love you dearly. And I'm gonna be with you for the long haul until they put me in the ground. Good?
Perfect.
I'm sorry to say I didn't have that when we first married.
Oh, it's okay.
Wow. How awesome is that?
It almost made me cry again.
It really is very, very sweet, very, very special. And it's so refreshing just to watch it, you know, as families. And you've met my family backstage there. I have 15 years of marriage, not quite 50, but I'm going for the 50 just like you. But what I want to talk about is a little bit what Phil said, a little bit what you said. It wasn't always good. I mean, there was a lot of difficult times there. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That's what I tell when I go all over America. When they ask me to speak, it's so funny because they say, somebody will say, well, is this a Christian event? And I'm like, well, it will be when I get through. The same thing with Phil. He speaks at a lot of events, and they're not Christian-based. But by the time we're both through, it is. And what I do is, the first time I ever got up to speak, I remember I said, Willie said, before I went to speak, he said, Mom, are you sure those people want you to speak? Do they know that you actually butcher the English language? And I told him this. I said, Willie, what I found out is my fans love Miss Kay on Duck Dynasty. And you know what? They love her, whether she butchers the English language, what she does wrong or whatever, they still love her. And because I know that, and I know God loves me, and I prayed to not have fear about speaking, I said, then now I feel no fear.
That's right. That's
No fear, so I can talk to anybody. And what I do is I simply tell my story, my testimony. And yes, I was raised right up the road in Ida, Louisiana.
Wow.
And you know, that's not a big town, and it's kind of shrinking as we speak, I think. But you know, that town, I mean, I had a grandmother who was my biggest influence, and I know you'll probably talk about that later, but you know, she pretty much taught me lessons about when I get married, and that was when I was a small girl, and I told her that I was going to marry a pioneer man. Of course, I didn't know he'd have a crew cut at first, and later he'd look like a pioneer man. I didn't know that myself. And I always planned to have 4 kids. Now, I wasn't saying I planned to have 4 boys. I think God was playing a joke on me there. Said, okay, you think you can plan it all out? Well, deal with this. So, but, you know, we were us and a baby at Louisiana Tech going through with Phil's football scholarship. But, you know, my dreams were just like the books always said. I was going to live happily ever after. But Phil, who never drank or did anything like that before, when he got to Tech, within the second year, really, he had a lot of responsibility for that young of age. And I think all of a sudden that really was heavy on him. And his friends had a lot of, bad influence who would say, well, you never did even get to sow your wild oats, which I don't know why they think men have to do that. I mean, sow your oats, that sounds like a horse to me. Why does a man have to do that? I mean, it's like, well, we expect that of a man. But anyway, well, he decided to do that and really went on a party lifestyle and where he drank and drank and drank. And yeah, we had about 10 years of that. And I always tell my story. And during my story, I tell really about the most hopeless time of my life. And that was when I thought every time if we would just move, it would get better. And I think a lot of people do that. They feel like if you change your circumstances, you change the people you're with, then it's all going to get better and better and better. But what they don't understand is within you that has to change. And I tell about the most hopeless, I guess, night of my life when I came home from work really late. And of course, Phil accused me of having an affair, which was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Number one, he knew I wasn't like that. Number two is, I didn't have time for that. My grandson would say, I ain't got time for that, okay? And I didn't. I took care of 3 boys at that time and worked, cooked. There wasn't a day he didn't just about have a cooked meal, and I took care of him the best I could. I tried to be the best wife and mother I could be, but guess what? There was something else missing in me, and as I later found out, I had been operating on my grandmother's faith, not mine. And I had to find that faith. And when I was on the floor in my bathroom that night crying and crying, and I felt like I lost all hope to be able to put my marriage back together, I didn't know what else to do. And I remember my grandmother's words about fighting for your marriage, but I'd been doing that about 9 years. So I didn't know what else to do. And that night, and I always tell this story if I have time to tell it right now, my 3 little boys were there, and Alan said, Mama, don't cry anymore. He said, God's going to take care of us. And I heard Jason say, what'd she say? What'd she say? He was always a little nosy rascal anyway. And then Willie Jess, he was like less than 3 years old, just under 3, I think. And he sucked these 2 fingers. He hates for me to tell this. That's why I'm telling it. And he'd go. So I heard that noise, and I knew he was right there with his brothers. And I remember Alan just kept saying, Mama, don't cry anymore. Please don't cry. God's going to take care of us. I remember those words well. God's going to take care of us. I mean, he was 9 years old. You're hearing that from your 9-year-old son? And what he said then was, I thought, I had really had thoughts of I just wanted to go to sleep and never wake up. I even thought about, I wish I could take something and just go to sleep and take away this pain and this hopelessness that was in me, because I didn't know how to fix it. And that was the only goal I'd ever had in my life. So from that night, I just looked up to the heavens and said, God, I need you, but I don't know how to find you. And that's what my prayer was. Wow. And the next day, I called a number on a television screen that said, do you need peace in your life? Do you need God, is what it said. I called that number. I went over to a town that was about 30 minutes away, a bigger town than where I was from. I met with a preacher there. And the first thing he said was, Kay, do you feel like if you died, would you go to heaven? And I said, well, would I go to heaven? I said, I would fly there. I said, let me tell you about my drunk husband. Let me tell you what I've been through 9 years. So I went on a rant on that. And he said, but Kay, when you face God on judgment, it's just going to be you. I said, but I'm going to let God know about him. He said, he already knows about him, okay? But it's between you and God. But anyway, what he convinced me, and I later learned, I can't earn my way to heaven. And I told him, I said, and there's something wrong with that peace thing anyway, because I don't feel any peace. And so what I did was I learned, and I put my faith in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I learned, and what he told me that day I'll never forget in my whole life. He said, when you go back home, Phil's probably still going to be drunk on the couch. He's going to be saying these stuff and doing these things, but you're different. You're going to have help. You will have Jesus Christ living in you, his Holy Spirit, and from this day forth, you can start dreaming about heaven. And even though this earth may not have the best things for you with your husband, but you will have a church family to love you. You'll have Jesus Christ and the anchor to you that will never leave you, ever. And, yep, that's what he said.
Awesome.
I confess, I put my faith in Jesus Christ that day. I believed the gospel. I knew he did all those things for me so I could be saved and be in heaven with him one day. I confessed his name. I believed him. I was baptized later that day. All that, and when I went home, me and those little boys, I knew we were going to heaven. And their daddy could stay drunk as long as he wanted to, but we were going. And so I'll have to get Phil saved later, but I can tell you that.
That's pretty powerful just because, Symbol Church is a different church. We're trying to reach people that are broken and that are hurting and that really need to know that, because there's many women, many men in here that are in those situations as well. They're trying to figure it out. And that's why I wanted you to hear, Miss Kay, is because God's given you that platform. They watch you on TV, but I wanted them to hear. I want them to know what gives you the strength, how you make it. Now you know it is that personal relationship with Christ. It is the way you make it through.
And I would go to church many a time and I would be crying because he was acting like a jerk. But I knew I could sit down and sing, "This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through." Or "No tears in heaven, no sorrows," and
That's
all
right.
those things. I knew it was beyond here. And it was, my life changed completely.
And in that process, how long did it take, because you went through still, even after you gave your life to Christ, it took him a while.
Yeah, it was about a year went by, and it got worse with me because now he didn't like me because I was a holy roller, I was a Bible thumper, I was a goody two-shoes, I was Miss Angel Wings. I mean, she thinks she's just flying around here with her, and all that stuff. And I promise y'all, I did not, I lived different, and I tried to talk to him in a gentle way. I didn't try to just beat him over the head with the Bible, because that would have never worked anyway. I invited, like, the preacher over, different church people. They'd come in the front door, he'd go out the back door. See you when this bunch of, Bible thumpers leave here, I'll be back. That's
what's funny. A couple of weeks ago, I showed Phil's testimony in here. So they kind of heard, because it was basically, I think, his sister and coming to the bar, and there was a amazing story.
Much stuff there.
Yeah.
But it's so funny how I tell the story of when he came to Christ different than Phil
I bet
does.
you do. You want to tell us a little piece of that?
You want the real story? You want the truth? It's like this. I came home one night, it was raining, same kind of scenario. I actually broke down in my car, and that's why I was late. But of course, he started accusing me. And I said, "Don't even think it, don't even say it." And then he said, "Well, I tell you what, you're ruining my life." I said, "Well, you've been ruining my life for about 10 years now." He said, "Well, I can't take it anymore." And I was like, "Really?" It's almost amusing, but it's not. I knew what he needed. He didn't know what he needed at the time. But he said, "Well, I've just come to the conclusion, I want you and the kids to get out." Now, that tells you what a selfish person he is. Me and 3 kids had to get out. He needed that mobile home, obviously, for all his bachelor friends to party in. So he wasn't really much worried about where we went. I think he knew somebody would take us in. And he just told us to leave, and I'll never forget that night, because we had a little bitty Volkswagen, so that could tell you how much stuff I took, me and the 3 boys. And I remember the sadness in their eyes and how hurt they were that their daddy would just put them out of the house, which I just said, I looked up in the sky and I told my grandma, I said, I want this noted. He put me out, okay? I didn't leave him. I've been fighting for this marriage for 10 years, and I tried to make it just us, but I don't know what else to do. I'm obeying him. He put us out. I can't stay. Obviously, he's 200 pounds and some 6'3", and I'm not. So we left, and we moved that 30 minutes away where that church was, where I'd met that preacher. And when we went there, I had a job, and we lived in a low-rent little apartment, and everybody helped us. I mean, they helped us and they helped us. And every day I prayed for him, me and the boys. We prayed for their daddy. And every day I saw the sadness and how much they just wanted their dad. Can't we just let him come back? He don't want to come back, okay? He put us out. He doesn't want us. We can't make him do that. Besides, I just want God to bring him to him first, and then it'll make it right. Well, when I came in from work one day, the girl that went to lunch with me every day said, oh no, Phil's in the parking lot, and he's got his head laid on the steering wheel. I think he's drunk. And I said, probably. And she's like, what are we going to do, call the police? And I said, no, we can't call the police because he's sitting out there in the parking lot. I said, I'm going to talk to him, make sure. I said, I don't want him to come to the office and cause trouble. I said, he might hurt somebody. And she said, well, if you go out there, he might hurt you. And I said, he might, but it'll just be me. And I said, besides, you watch from the window, and if you see any, scary stuff like guns or something, you call the police. And she was like, okay, I'm getting my binoculars. And I said, yeah, get them. Do whatever you have to do. So when I opened that door, I looked at him, and I'd never seen the Phil that I saw then, because big tears were rolling down his eyes, and he never cried, because macho men don't cry, That was one of his mottos. And he looked at me and he said, I can't eat, I can't sleep, I want my family back. Wow. And I'm never gonna drink again. And that's when my heart started pumping. I said, now this is the man I want right here. But I knew I had to be strong. And I said, Phil, you can't do it by yourself. He said, I know that. And I said, you need somebody. And he said, you're talking about God? And I said, yep, he's the only one that can help you stop this life. And he said, well, I don't know how to find him. And I said, well, it just so happens I know somebody that you know from a long time ago. And I said, and I guarantee you. So anyway, I told him to come back to my work at 5:30, and we would go to my apartment. And I called, and I'll never forget when I called that preacher. He was an elderly, white-haired man, and I called him, and I said, I have got Phil. He's ready to talk to you. And he said, well, let me check my calendar, and I'll never forget what I said. I was trying not to be disrespectful. I said, check your calendar. What are you talking about? I said, it's a lost sheep. You know how he feels about that? I said, cancel it, whatever it is.
That's awesome.
That's what I said. And then later I said, I can't believe I said that exactly like I said that to you. But I did. And so anyway, that night, he came and he said it. And the first thing Phil said was, I don't trust anybody. And the preacher said, well, if I'd have been running around with who you run around with, Phil, I wouldn't trust anybody either. But do you trust this? And he held up the Bible and he said, yeah, I trust that. Wow. And he said, well, here's the deal. Just listen to me and write it all down. I'll come back tomorrow night, which is what happened. We let Phil stay home. The first thing my boys, instead of saying, oh, Daddy, I'm so glad you're home, Daddy, would you bring back the big TV? We had to watch that little bitty the whole time, Dad. Please bring back. Can you go home tonight and get that big TV?
That's awesome.
The next night when he studied, we left for a little while. And this again shows you Phil, even in his wanting to be good, but he still got that selfish, nature. We come back and there's a note on the door. Meet us, come to the church. When we walked in the back door of the church building, he couldn't wait on us. That's the way he was, There he was, giving his confession that he was going to make Jesus Christ the Lord of his life. Wow. And tell him about his faith in Jesus. And he was baptized that night. And when I looked over at my 3 little boys, just tears were rolling down, all 3 of them, even little sucking fingers down there. He had little tears rolling down. And Jason said, does that mean we're killing the devil and Daddy? And I said, yeah, that's
awesome.
exactly what it means. And the preacher told me later, said, he's got some rough edges, okay? We got special groups for him that he'll be in all the time. We hid him from his friends for like 3 months, true story. And you know what? You see the results now.
Yep.
He spends his life. His greatest thing about the whole TV show is that they have made a bigger audience so he can share the gospel of Jesus.
That's right. Give him a round of applause. Awesome. All right, we got time for one more question, but I'm going to hop to the mother that you are, because again, it's not only an amazing wife and trusting Christ through all that, but also raising these boys. And I'm sure it hadn't always been easy. So if in the video trailer, if y'all get ready, let's show a little mama clip just to remind everybody, you know how to raise some kids. Watch this.
This is part of the family business.
No, this ain't part of the family business.
Yes, it's my business, and you're my son. I'm gonna get a bowl of boudin, and we're gonna settle this now. Listen, I brought you into this world. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. Don't forget where you came from, buddy.
You the one that had him. It'd be best if you listen to your mother.
You better listen to your mama.
She's giving you good, sound, kind, gentle, motherly advice. I would take that advice.
No lip.
Mom's sweet and everything, but when it comes to us, she will kick us in the...
Willie, you're gonna grow up, and you're gonna grow up. This is gonna set them straight, or I'm gonna get the wooden spoon.
Miss Kay bore all 4 of those boys of mine, and when I saw them come forth from her loins, the first thing that struck me is that woman's a lot tougher than I thought they were. And the second thing that struck me is my sex life is over as I know it. I salute women worldwide.
That's it.
Give it up for her, huh? Good advice, Mom. Hey, it's a lot of fun, isn't it? Raising these boys is not always easy, so I'm sure we could get some more advice on that, couldn't we?
Well, isn't that the truth? And now all of America sees it all, don't they? So, yeah, I mean, how would you like that? Oh, it's been a wild ride. And look, Jason will be the first to tell you we're not going to win the Parents of the Year award, okay? But we're who we are. We did the best we could. And they always ask me all over America, what about kids? I say this. Number one, it would always be teach them about God, of course. That is number one. You need to communicate. You need to listen. I can tell you so many nights, midnight, I'm sitting on the bed listening to boys talk. And I'm just like, okay, I'm tired now, but I'm just so glad. Tell me everything, and it'll just go on and on. Communicate. Even when I had 2 prodigal sons, let me tell you something. I still let them know I loved them, but we actually put 2 of them out of our house. The funniest thing I have is I asked, what 2 sons do y'all think were the prodigal sons? You can shout it out, I don't care. Well, what most of them say is Willie and Jace, and that would be wrong. The 2 prodigal sons were Alan the preacher and Jep the baby. But the best part is, you know that already the ended to that. I'll tell you those stories one day, not today. But you know they're back. They were only out there flopping around about 2 years, each one of them. But you know what? Those boys, they are, I think, my greatest accomplishment in life. And I think when a mother feels like that, even though it's not easy to raise them, I mean, they bring me the greatest joy, them and my grandkids right now, and my great-grandkids to this day. They are my greatest joy. But yeah, could I just yank those beards? Yes. Could I yank Phil sometime? Yes.
That's what I like about her, keeping it real. All right, so here, we got to get ready to wrap it up. Let me just give one other little bit of advice. You have your cookbook out as well. And the reason I have this on here is because we have a special giveaway going to the back row in the very back there. We have some fried pies that Miss Fran, one of our other Louisiana natives here, has made. They're going to pass them out on the back row. And that is because you didn't get as close as you wanted to, so we're blessing you and hooking you up. But this is what I love about your table. Not only is it about food and creating good food, it's about that prayer. It is about every episode and everything I've heard, from raising kids to being married to a guy who is in the middle of, trust me, doing some really messed up stuff. But that prayer came through and really blew your socks off, because I'm looking at now what God is doing with those boys, what God is doing with your husband, what God is doing through you. And I just want to know a little bit about that prayer, because I want to show you. They're going to be running a clip just of showing some of the episodes how y'all pray. But tell me a little bit about praying at the end of every episode and why that's so important.
What you don't know, or a lot of people here may not know, is Phil's mom and dad, when we moved down there by the river where we live now, his mom and dad helped us actually get that place, and they lived by us for 15 years. Granny and Paul, we called them. And Granny and Paul, we prayed, but it becomes wonderful with Granny and Paul, because it was like 3 generations.
That's right.
So Paul would always lead the prayer, and usually somewhere in the conversation he talked about the Bible, and it was wonderful, and we had great discussions. When he got older, bless his heart, well, he always kind of got the same prayer, but then he would get his part in the Bible, he would get in Ezekiel or somewhere, and the boys would say, Mom, will he ever get up? Can he get over to the New Testament again? Please help him to get over there. But, he's older, so we just respect him. But then, when they had health issues and had to move away from us, it just continued with Phil always doing it. And now my boys do it. And it just makes me so proud to see it just carries right on.
Well, what I want to do for you, Miss Kay, is I want to pray for you. You always are leading us through the television, through the way y'all have led your life, but I want to say a little prayer for you. And then I'm going to talk to you guys just for a couple of minutes before we go. But if you don't mind, I'm going to hold your hand there and pray for you. God, I just thank you so much just for this family, what they mean to us. And I know that many, many days they don't realize their impact. There's so many people that have been touched by them, encouraged by them. And her stories today have just reminded me again of how gracious you are to us, that you love us with an unconditional love. And I'm so thankful, God, for a woman that sought after you to give her wisdom and leadership in how she should handle her husband and how she should handle her kids, how she should handle her life. And that started with surrendering her life to you. So thank you for that testimony. And thank you, God, for just their family, what they mean to all of us, the example that they show all of us in the way they pray, in the way that they laugh, in the way they have fun, the way they enjoy life. And God, the way that you have made that possible. I thank you for that. Now I ask you just to protect them. Let them know again just how much we love them, how thankful we are for them, and how proud we are of them and what they are accomplishing throughout this world and, of course, through this wonderful state. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Y'all give it up for Miss Kay, huh? Stand up here, Miss Kay. Thank you, Miss Kay. Y'all give her a little love, huh? Give her a little love.
Is it time for me to go on?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll grab my dress.
Yep. Now, you got to know, we got another service coming right up after this, so just sit down for one real quick second. The band, if y'all get in place, we're going to play one song on the way out. And why do I want to play this one song? It's because many of you in here, you understand you are not a celebrity. You don't have the resources. You don't have the story of maybe the redemption that she has now. And I'm telling you, it's available to all of us. You heard her say it. Maybe you're in the middle of difficult circumstances and situations. I want to pray for you specifically right now. And then the band is going to play a song about prayer on the way out today, just to remind all of us, you can have a relationship with Him. And through prayer and talking to Him, you can make it. You can get through the things that this life has thrown at you. So would you pray with me? God, there are so many people in this room that have come just to be blessed and encouraged by Miss Kay. But God, they heard the gospel. That God, you love them. That you sent your Son to die for them. That if they'll have that faith, that personal faith, not a grandparent's faith, not Miss Kay's faith, but their own faith, and admit that they're a sinner, believe that you are who you say you are, and commit themselves to you in a personal relationship, you promise to save them, to give them a fresh start, a new beginning. And God, there's many that are in the midst of bad marriages, difficult circumstances, situation. God, help them. Just like Miss Kay said, through knowing that relationship with you, you can empower, you can encourage, you can strengthen them to make it through. And God, we can't see the future. We don't know what it all looks like. We don't know exactly the answer for everybody in here or what road someone else is going to take. I'm thankful Phil turned, but there may be a husband or a wife that doesn't. And in the midst of all that, I pray you would continue to give them strength, encouragement, and remind them, most importantly, that they're not alone. You promised to never leave us, never forsake us, no matter who we are, and that we have the power and the responsibility to make a difference in our family, with the kids that we have, with the life that we have. Not looking at anybody else, but me have that responsibility to impact this world. I thank you for that. In Jesus' name,